Even older folk from another planet.
Secret, I won't tell anybody.
It's hard to know who to trust.
That's Brian Dennehy, an alien from outer space, placing his trust in Steve Guttenberg in Cocoon, one of the new movies we'll be reviewing this week on At the Movies, the movie review program. I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. In addition to Cocoon this week, we'll also be reviewing Return to Oz, a Disney Studio sequel that features the land over the rainbow. And in our special X-ray segment, we'll take a look back at the original Wizard of Oz and the Diana Ross Michael Jackson musical, The Whiz. But first, Gene starts with a science fiction film called Daryl.
Daryl is the name of a very special little boy, about a 10-year-old kid, slightly built, with a computer-like brain, able to memorize an eye chart at a glance, able to crack computer codes at will, able to hit towering home runs the first time he's at bat in a baseball game. As you might have guessed, and you will guess about 5 minutes into this movie, little Daryl is not a normal youngster. No, he's not a visitor from another planet. That's at least something different about this film. But his brain has undergone some space-age modifications. Daryl is found in the woods. He apparently has amnesia, and so he's placed in a foster home where he promptly amazes the neighborhood kids with his dexterity at video games.
Can I have a try? I'll teach you how to play. Hey, Twerp, let him try. Troy says he's so smart. Let's see him prove it. I think I understand. That's a fun game. Not bad. Daryl Richardson.
What a kid. Daryl's also a whiz at baseball, and he's very polite to his foster parents. In fact, Daryl's so perfect, he annoys his foster mother.
Daryl, I've been meaning to give him my speech about grown-ups. It's a great speech. I meant to give it 2 weeks ago. I've done something to upset her. She's mad at me. Grown-ups have to feel like they're making progress with you. You gotta mess up sometimes. Just enough so you don't get whacked. They feel like they're learning something, see? It's a real art. Trust me. Leaving room is harder sometimes. Just need to feel useful. You're so damn helpful and good and thoughtful. I don't know why I like you.
Now, that's the cutest scene in the movie, I think, and if Daryl had more scenes like that, reflecting adult attitudes to young people, the kind of things that kids whisper to adults, if it had more of that, it might have been a pretty good movie. Sort of an adolescent variation on the Jeff Bridges character in Starman, who reflects back to us everything about the adult world. Anyway, Daryl, unfortunately, is just a routine thriller at its core, turns into a chase picture at the end with a predictable message about meddling with human nature, the old science fiction evil scientist kind of thing. That's too bad, because this film really did have a nice beginning, nice premise.
I liked it a whole lot more than you did. And I'll tell you the movie that it reminded me of, and I had to go back about 15 years, was Charlie, which is basically the opposite story. Someone who loses intelligence and loses his humanity and feels it's slipping away. Here's a kid who's very smart because he has a computer for a brain.
Right.
And then he finds that he's also, and we find too, a little boy. He can be hurt, he can love, he can fear, he can feel. Yeah. That's a nice story. And I also don't think you should dismiss the ending as just another chase. It's a very clever idea. I guess I shouldn't give it away, but I think that the chase at the end is effective.
Well, Charlie didn't have any chases, as I'm
No,
recollecting.
that's true.
And I think if it had played along, if we drop away the science thing, then I think this picture really would have worked. And that's the part that bothered me. All the scientists, all of that stuff, I've seen so much of it lately, I really have no interest in it. The human story would have worked. The actor's not
Let me
bad.
drop away the science. I mean, the whole premise is that he has a computer for a brain. I mean,
once you know that, you don't have to show me any of it.
in other words, you didn't want the evil government guys and
Yes,
so forth.
none of
well,
that.
I could have done a little less than that, but I
Okay.
still recommend the movie. Next at the movies, aliens from outer space bring the fountain of youth to Florida.
We'll never be sick. We won't get any older, and we won't ever die.
This movie is named Cocoon, and it begins in a way 10,000 years ago when some visitors from outer space are forced to leave Earth quickly, and they leave behind some of their friends in cocoons on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Now they've returned, and their plan is to hire a boat, dredge up those cocoons from the ocean bottom, and bring them back to life. The aliens disguise themselves as human beings, but in this scene, the skipper of their chartered boat realizes that his passengers are more than human.
Jack, I'm sure you're bothered by what you've seen, but if you just relax.
Well, I don't want to relax.
Why don't you let us explain?
Because I don't want to know anything. And if you try to eat my face off or take over my body, you're going to be very sorry, mister. You're going to be very sorry.
Face eating, Jack? I've never heard of that. Is that some sort of delicacy?
No. Forget I ever mentioned it.
You sure I shouldn't try it, Jack?
I'm positive.
Walter, Jack is our friend, right, Jack?
Friend. That's right. Friend. 100%. I'm your friend. That's all I ever wanted to be. I want to be your friend.
But we do owe you an explanation.
No, you don't owe me anything. You don't, not even the boat, honestly. It's free.
Of course we're going to pay you for the boat. We're on it.
Well, of course you're honest. Did I ever accuse you of being dishonest? I accuse you of being from another planet, but an honest planet.
That's a good line.
The way he knows something is wrong is he's spied on them, and
Right.
they take off their human skin.
That's a
and
way.
inside they're just pure light, which, only an alien or a movie critic would look like that. That was Steve Guttenberg overacting a little as the skipper, and Brian Dennehy and Tawny Welch, who is Raquel's daughter, as the aliens. The aliens put their cocoons in a swimming pool they've rented, and they charge that pool with a life force that will bring their friends back to life. Meanwhile, 3 old guys from a nearby retirement home sneak into the pool, and the life force makes them feel just great.
I feel great.
Me too.
Why shouldn't he feel good? I feel tremendous. I'm ready to take all the world. Ow! Ow!
Now, just as an example, apart
Right.
from Cocoon,
Right.
just to look at that scene was fun because
Right.
you see so often beautiful young bodies diving in slow motion and so forth. Here were some old guys. They're having a good time,
And
too.
we are starved for images like that.
We
Old
are.
people typically in the movies are wheelchair-ridden, or the one gag line is you'll have an old person say a swear word, and that's the big thing.
That's right.
Here they are acting like normal.
Like doubles. I'm sure those are the actors involved.
Those actors are stage actors. They can do 8 shows a week. They can jump off a diving board.
I guess so. The actors there were Don Amici, Hume Cronin, and Wilford Brimley. And Brimley has some of the best scenes in this movie. He discusses the meaning of life with his grandson. Most of the movie concerns the old folks. The cast also includes Jessica Tandy, Jack Gilford, and Maureen Stapleton, and the way they're forced to re-examine all of their assumptions about life and death after those friendly aliens tell them, you know, you don't have to die. Come with us, and you'll never grow sick, and you'll never grow old. It's an intriguing idea, and the way Wilford Brimley considers it with his grandson is really effective. I like this movie.
I liked it too. Again, I wish I'd say just more of the old people. I don't even need the younger couple there, although there's a cute, nice love scene actually between Connie Welch and Steve Guttenberg. They could have taken a hike from this movie. If it had been all old people, that would have been riskier in the marketplace. but I would have loved it. It still is a lot of fun.
Well, if you're going to have aliens, though, I like the Brian Dennehy character because he was he says, see, I make a mistake about every 10 or 11,000 years. The last one was deciding to put our base on Atlantis.
Right.
And then it sank, which is why they got into this deal. And then his next mistake is to let those 3 old guys swim around in the pool, which makes all of the people in the old folks' home realize something is up.
If this movie is successful, and I suspect it will be, I think it just proves once again, if you just move a little bit off center, rather than have the story, the normal way to make the story, make it about young kids being rejuvenated or better at video games, frankly. That's the normal thing. Here, they just moved the story a little bit, made it about older people,
and a great cast that make those older people into very interesting three-dimensional characters, not just examples.
All different, too.
That's right. Yeah.
Very nice. Coming up next at the movies, what's long and narrow and is filled with yellow bricks. We're going back to Oz. One of the most beloved films in motion picture history, The Wizard of Oz. A fairy tale book come to life where every kid, particularly girls, I think, vicariously lived through Judy Garland's journey away from her Kansas home to the magical world of Oz, where animals talked English, witches ran wild, and friends could be made of straw and fur and tin. The new film, Return to Oz, is not in the same league as the original. First, because it isn't a musical. And that was amazing that they made that decision. Second, because it doesn't star Judy Garland. Of course, they couldn't help that. Third, because it will terrify young children with its opening torture scenes. And fourth, because it rarely amazes us with any of its special effects. Other than that, it's routinely mediocre. Here's a scene where little Dorothy from Kansas, played by Fairuza Balk, is in Oz, trying with some new friends to assemble another creature made by placing a moose head on a sofa. Boy, what those interior decorators in Oz won't think of next.
Go to the door and look out for Mommy.
All right, Dorothy.
Make sure you do the head so we can see where it's going.
It's not working.
Oh, there must have been some magic words.
What were they? Think.
Think?
You've got to remember.
I wasn't alive then. How can I remember?
Read the directions, Dorothy. I don't know these words.
Read them anyway.
Peog. Peog. Peog.
Wait for me.
Now, the only interesting special effect in Return to Oz occurs when Dorothy and friends are confronted by a bad guy called the Gnome King, who is made through a process called claymation, moving bits of clay around.
Tell me who you are and why you have come all the way to my kingdom and what I can do to make you happy.
It must be the Gnome King.
Where is he? I don't see anybody.
My name is Dorothy Gale, Your Majesty. And these are my friends. Tick-Tock, Jack, and the Gump.
The Dorothy Gale from Kansas.
Yes, Your Majesty.
I like that guy. I like the Gnome King. And I got a suggestion for all the toy makers in America. I'm sure they're going to make little toys like the little Dorothy doll, a little sofa with the moose head. Gee, I really want my kid to have one of those. Give us the Gnome King in modeling clay so you can make your own Gnome King rather than just give us a flat Gnome King mask.
See, what a revolutionary idea. Modeling clay, the toy of the future.
Didn't you like modeling clay when you were growing up?
I mean,
you can do great things with clay, like push it on
Here's
a wall.
your Wizard of Oz toy, a block of clay. I mean, that will really go over well.
Well, all right, I'd buy it rather than the sofa. You probably like the moosehead sofa. At any rate, I like all the rocks in Oz. They can open their little eyes, some of the rocks. I like how there's a whole wall of rock that's made to talk. But other than that, this movie looks like a set decorator's nightmare. Dorothy's new friends in Oz are not given fresh personalities. They're not played by interesting actors, all of which was the case, of course, in the original film. Gee, you got a broom handle with a pumpkin on it. That's real exciting. One last note of warning. I want to repeat just how terrifying the opening scenes of this movie are. This shocked me. Little Dorothy is strapped down in a bed like in an insane asylum, and she has electric treatments being threatened. She's threatened with those. I would imagine kids under 6 are going to get nightmares from this picture. Kids over 6, They'll just have a bad time at the movies.
I agree. The first half hour, I thought I was looking at one of those Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing horror films, little girl strapped to the bed with a weird scientist performing experiments on her.
Strange.
Now I want to get to the claymation, the Gnome King, which you like. It was done by Will Vinton, who won an Academy Award using that process in a short study. It's well done.
Yes.
The Gnome King is based on one of the Oz books, so that's all fine. I think they based it on the wrong Oz book, because the magic of the original Wizard of Oz was the whole secret at the end, that you found out that the wizard was actually this little guy behind the curtain who was just as insecure as everybody else. Here, you have this giant, overwhelming, and apparently real monster, and to me, it loses the whole secret of Oz, which is that once you look behind the surface of things, you find out that they're not as bad as they seem.
Well, I got another suggestion, which is don't remake classic films. Now, I know they didn't technically remake this, they did the extra books in the series, but don't even get near the classics, because we're all sitting there thinking it's not as good. Why go in with that? Someone once had a great line. Don't remake good pictures, remake bad pictures.
Okay, but if you're going to remake a picture, remake it in the spirit of the original. The original Wizard of Oz was a very innocent, very lighthearted and cheerful film. This movie seems more inspired by the more recent high-tech special effects thrillers, where you really, apparently kids, they think the kids these days are so overwhelmed with special effects that every movie has to be overkill. And this movie, to me, is too high-powered for little kids. You say 6, I would say 8 or 9 are going to be overwhelmed by this picture.
Well, either way, next at the movies, a special X-ray segment as we take another further look at the Oz film.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
The subject of today's X-ray, the wonderful world of Oz. And that world seems all the more wonderful after seeing Return to Oz, which, as we mentioned just a moment ago, seems to lose track of the cheerful innocence of the original movie and get carried away by the current fashion for scary special effects. The original 1939 Wizard of Oz remains one of the greatest movies ever made, a film that still gets good ratings whenever it plays on television, and the kind of film that parents and grandparents love to see for the first time with their kids and grandkids. Take them to see The Wizard of Oz and share the experience. I don't think there's much in Return of Oz you'd want to share, especially with the younger children, unless you want to share A Sleepless Night with them later. The movie is curiously grim and downbeat. Here's a sample scene.
Oh, no.
It's just a yellow brick.
No, Belina, you don't understand. This was the Yellow Brick Road. It leads to the Emerald City.
Well, that'd be okay if the Yellow Brick Road ever got repaired, but
they even got the road wrong.
Got the road wrong. But the road isn't all that's lost its magic and its glow in this new Oz. And to make the contrast, let's go back to 1976 and The Wiz, a musical directed by Sidney Lumet and starring in this scene Diana Ross and a young Michael Jackson.
Come on, then, get on down the road. Come on, get on down the road. Don't you carry nothing that might be alone. Come on, get on down the road.
The Wiz was not a box office success, but that scene shows that at least they did understand something of the special magic of The Wizard of Oz and its carefree spirit of adventure. Now look at the original scene from the original movie.
Follow the Yellow Brick Road?
Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Follow the Yellow Brick, follow the Yellow Brick, follow the Yellow Brick Road. You're off to see the river, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. You'll find the Wizard of Oz, if ever a river was. If ever a river was, the Wizard of Oz is one because of the wonderful things he does.
It makes you want to see the whole movie all over again. Now, of course, it's easy to praise a classic and easy to criticize Return to Oz for daring to invite comparison with a classic like that, but I'm not even talking here about the artistry and craftsmanship of the various Oz films. I'm talking about the spirit. And the question that Return to Oz ought to ask itself is, birds fly over the rainbow, so why or why can't Oz?
It's a matter of tone. That's exactly what you're talking about. This film is a high-tech kind of film. The business of her flying over with that carpet that we saw in the clip there before just seems recycled out of every other picture.
Disney film in particular. They always have something funny that flies. That was out of Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, where the bed flew.
Yeah. Again, I have to repeat my line, which is simply, I would stay away from classics. I would go to find some other territory that's fresh and do it. I would have put music into this film. You know, The Wiz, just by the virtue of its music, seems like a film that I'd like to see again, even though, as most everyone agreed, Diana Ross was miscast as Dorothy. But at least there, the music was buoyant and joyful. This film is quite somber.
Somebody should have thought, when they, at the very first, when they were starting on Return to Oz, somebody should have had this thought. It ought to be fun, it ought to be upbeat, it ought to be sweet, it ought to be wondrous. Yeah. It shouldn't be scary.
Okay, let's recap our reactions to the movies on this show. We split on Daryl, the thriller about the perfect little boy. Roger got caught up in the kid's character. I thought, though, it just returned into a routine chase story at the end. We both liked, however, Cocoon, the science fiction picture. We appreciated its treatment of old folks as human beings. Finally, a pair of downturned thumbs on Return to Oz, a film guaranteed to scare little ones and bore big ones, like these two big ones.
Okay, so Cocoon is the one that we agree on this week. That's it for this week. Next week at the movies, more summer blockbusters, including Clint Eastwood and Pale Rider, his new Western, and Ali Sheedy, Judd Nelson, and Emilio Estevez in St. Elmo's Fire, which is sort of a big chill for kids 1 year out of college. That's next week. Until then, we'll see you at the movies.